It was so cute. They're so adorable. They're like little Shetland ponies. They're great. Hey, speaking of great things, so it looks like the players have started. I don't know if are we currently live?
Yeah, so in 20 minutes. So
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. I
yes,
mean, we're
yes, my
currently
OBS is back
amazing.
up. It
So,
should be.
oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, then we can definitely talk about this then, which is really great. So the players, so that everyone's tracking. By the way, greeting of the day, everyone. It's great to see all you delightful heathens here hanging out for Gwent. So the players submitted their bans, and just so that you know, I have no enemies, will not have access to NR stockpile, and Andy will not have access to Toussaint Hospitality Nilfgaard.
Okay, I put that screen. Okay, okay. Hopefully, we can quickly run through the decks at the end of this game. Probably focus on what's currently happening here. So we have on blue coin, I have no enemies, has Pirate's Curve list. This is a variation with Bart. Yes, Bart is the main thing to put out here. The rest looks pretty standard, I'd say. And then on the other side, Andy's taking Warriors here. The first series that I casted with Curve today, we saw Warriors absolutely struggling, just lost 3 times in a row. Warriors feels like a very sort of average deck. It's sort of decent in a bunch of matchups, but if you're not particularly good in anything, it can be really hard to get that win that you so desperately need in this conquest form.
Agreed. This is of course a slightly different flavor with the Blaze of Glory, Eist, Drake Vondu flavor and Herald, as opposed to the Sove Patricidal Fury list that we've seen before. But I mean, I think you're on the macro. Your point stands. This can be tough for Andy, but if Andy can, the nice thing about this list, especially being from Red Coin, is that if Andy gets pushed with the Siggy, then the Blaze of Glory leader plus Eist is a ton of tempo. So it's, sometimes with these Syndicate lists, you jam the Siggy in like in a round 2 bleed, and it's so many points that opponent even has to go down cards. But this leader, as compared to some of the other flavors of Warriors, maybe is able to withstand that a little bit better. But I agree with you that getting this Warriors list through on either side is going to be tricky for Andy.
And like, especially when stuff like the candle comes down. Actually, oh no, there's no candle in the list, so maybe it will be fine. If you're able to shut down like the little birds early, that can ensure that your removal actually will be able to kill whatever it needs. I'm surprised that this bar hasn't been played yet by I Have No Enemies. You actually see a leader charge coming out. See Jackal number 1 coming through. Pointed. Okay, now is the strings.
And I'm pulling the strings here to seize one of the especially in a list that plays Herald and Freya's Blessing. It's really nice to be able to pulling the strings from blue coin and be up 18 points here to be able to take one of those warriors and make it harder to continue to get raid value.
Yeah, and
we see Andy keeping pace though, and the other nice thing about this, about the other thing that may be advantageous for warriors is, like you said, without Candle, since obviously the warriors list is Devotion and hence no Heat Wave. If you can kill, like you'd said, Lemon, if you kill the little birds, and already a leader charge has been used by I Have No Enemies, it can be a little bit challenging then to be able to spend your coins efficiently if King of Beggars isn't on the board, if you're trying to hold Jacques for round 3. So there are some ways here that Andy can make, particularly the spend, a little more challenging.
Yeah. Although, in saying that, I don't know if there's ways they're going to do very much at the current state of the board.
Not in this round. Not in this round. Not in this round.
Yeah, this might be a kind of situation where you're looking like, okay, at this point, I'm not really going to be able to keep up. And I need to think about, okay, do I keep playing here, try to maybe get a little more out, even though I'd have to commit super hard to catch up. Like, to catch up, I would probably have needed the ice, and that's just not worth it.
Yeah, your instinct was spot on, and as you're saying that, Andy passes. Passing early here for warriors, if you, like you'd said, if you can't keep up, feels correct, because the longer that the round goes, the more time that you're going to have maybe to be able to build value. But some good draws here for I Have No Enemies finding the Jacques. being able to take a mulligan or two, and we'll see if I have no enemies opts to bleed, or if a long round is the motive.
At a minimum, can you guess what the first card? Okay, it's too late.
I was gonna make a similar joke, to be honest. Could you ever imagine what cards you would play at the start of round 2 with 8 cards in hand if you're Syndicate? Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you won the first round or you lost the first round. It's always Novigrad if you have more than 7 cards in hand.
Spot on.
So we do actually see Drake, but I have no enemies. Decides that the Drake is actually an enemy. Rid of it. I'm not wanting to let the carryover go through. That was such a low-hanging fruit I had to go for, but sadly I don't think I can stick it.
I was gonna say, but it's also midnight for you, so at this point, all fruit is delightful and accessible. So,
yeah,
so it does look like we are getting the bleed here, and like you'd said before, the Bart finally comes down. Interesting choice on the spend there from I Have No Enemies, because you would imagine here that with the point differential being so small, yeah, Andy's happy to kind of to play slow and continue to build more value. So we'll see if I Have No Enemies continues to play low to the ground, or if it feels like then with a little bird here, maybe trying to set up enough crime tags for a max valuing Siggy. Yeah, looks like we're getting the full push here from I Have No Enemies.
Wait, wouldn't one more coin have been gained if the Seajack was someone of the little birds? Or...
That is correct. Nope. Yeah, because obviously no other Tide Cloak. Yeah.
The one is played, one is summoned, so Bart only cares about the one which is played. Little micro
right,
there,
but the little bird, like you said, for the tag for the click rather, cares about the tag. Correct.
Yeah. The deploy does.
I never realized, because I don't have premium Bart. I never realized that this is the I totally forgot that this is Bart from The Witcher 3 who just bangs his head against the wall.
Yeah, and it's no coincidence he was releasing the same release as this Siggy Mastermind.
True, right, because that's all part of the same quest. Speaking of questing, we see Andy here finally, because of kind of the slower tempo from I Have No Enemies trying to set up the crime tags. We see Andy clicking the Care Trolled, being able to use the raid cards, establishing that extra value from the Highland Warlord to get ahead here and remove not one, both the Little Bird and the only other Tide Cloak. So this is going to start to become challenging for I Have No Enemies to be able to get really that Siggy value in this round. So if at this point it feels like if Andy can stay ahead here, then Lemon, I think Andy's going to be able to keep the card.
Yeah, I think so. This is stereo, not that shabby from the shady vendor though. Also finding nicely next to the bounty.
The only question here is if Andy does want to stay ahead here, what gets you 9 points here? So it does. We do see the second Blood Eagle.
Blood Eagle into Proper Warrior will do the trick. This Greatsword in hand is not good for Andy. This round goes on.
And I was curious if Andy was going to, because I think, other than jamming the Eist, the only other thing in hand that would get you the 9 points was the Blood Eagle. And I just wondered if Andy was going to spend that, because Tyr is still in deck, Herald is still in deck. So at 10 cards with no additional thinning other than the leader, then you're only going to see half of your remaining cards in deck.
Blind Eye. Going for the tribute to both heal and boost the Horsen. Does get the additional Blind Eye tag. So this has to be the Siggy Reuven. This is the choice. I Have No Enemies. You either pass this turn or you go heavily in playing the Siggy Reuven.
And we see the heavy in here.
It's gonna be BGF into. Oh. Look at that.
That's a lot of points.
Yep.
Yep. And I think now we probably see the Eist plus leader combination, maybe to kill the King of Beggars. No. Okay. We see Andy accepting then to stay on the even cards. Okay.
The Great Sword and the
Max-
Summon, you'd be getting what, like 12 plus 9 is 21. Yeah, with the Ice Body, it would do the trick.
Wouldn't get you.
Well, it would do the trick now,
Correct,
but I
and-
don't think it would have done without the Uncreate Warrior, perhaps.
Good math. And also if you're expecting that you need to if you're expecting that you need to spend anyway, or get value anyway from your hand if you're Andy, then you might as well play, for example, the Uncreate Warrior and get the bleed going, so you get your couple of extra points out of that card if you're expecting you have to play it anyway.
And we see another pulling the strings coming through onto another Bronze Warrior. And quite nasty because this Invader now means that there's A, less options for the tier, and B, it's also a lot less options for the Aura clans. Forward.
So we do now see Ice Leader, which should pull out the...
Okay, now the Greatsword in
You'd
hand is
imagine
actually
would be
good.
the Greatsword?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Now this gets ahead quite nicely with this Leader.
And you assumedly kill maybe King of Beggars here. It's one less point, but shuts off the spend. And now if you're I Have No Enemies, do you jam Jacques here? Because otherwise what's left in deck is not great for you, and there's still a Tier and a Herald in deck for Andy.
I think you just have to go all in and spend and hope the opponent just doesn't have a great time.
The Brand's only a 9, the Primal Savagery's an 11, so that's 20 points. So it's gonna be close here.
And note that the not spending on the Horseman Jr. to kill off this Uncreate Warrior, just in case there is another War of Clans, not wanting to give an addition.
Smart.
Although I think the Brockvale Warrior still would have been a better choice regardless. I guess it's more kind of a principle. And it's not actually that close in terms of committing both cards. One alone wouldn't do it. But Primal Savagery plays for as much as the Brand.
Yeah, so it would have been, which is wild. It would have been, so it was close to keep the card, but Andy doesn't mind here at all. There's not much really left in deck for value-wise for I Have No Enemies. Andy finds the Tier and the Herald, and that will be game one, as it turns out.
Yeah, and with no Horseman remaining, there's no real way to kill this Herald, or this Tier, this turn. So Herald will get the boost from Tier into whatever.
Yep. It's a lot of points in a three card round, huh?
Yep.
And that's that. So I Have No Enemies sees the writing on the wall, and Warriors gets through here in game one for Andy from Red Coin.
So quite a pivotal round two there. It's always nice though, because I feel like round two is where a lot of the most interesting decisions tend to be made in this game.
True. Yeah, it's fairly straight. It feels fairly straightforward because both players generally will, in this format, like you said, will have a clearly blue coin deck and a clearly red coin deck, and we tend more often than not to see that in the first game matchup. But I like you said, I like the decision point around the second and third games for sure.
Let's take this time, while I have a little time, games to catch up on what the actual decks are here. So let's go through Andy's remaining decks. There's the White Frost and the Off the Books. They're quite different to what we've seen so far today. These are Andy's lists. So the Off the Books is probably quite similar to what we had in the previous weekend. We see the Akarontia, but we don't see the Ixora being played. Is running the Candle and the Novigrad as artifacts, and your usual King of Beggars, Jacques, Shady Vendor Core. However, as Off the Books, there is the additional tribute cards in Salamander Mage and Cleric of Rose. Particularly Salamander Mage can get a lot of value. Also, Flamrodanian is here as a within and. Any thoughts?
Interesting for me to see double Salamander Mage. To see that kind of starting to make its way back into these Syndicate lists. But otherwise, like you said, fairly straightforward. some flavoring. Also, like you said, a swap out for the Azar Javed, one of the most annoying defender in the game.
Yeah.
So makes sense, especially in a tournament format, that if you can catch the matchup where the opponent doesn't have an efficient answer, Candle plus Azar Javed really becomes a thing where that Akarantia is protected, and that can be the game. For the White Frost list, a Devotion White Frost, as you'd expect, playing Lord Riptide, which has become fairly standard in White Frost lists, but opting for, instead of the Toad Prince, which we often see in the mid-range as control, there's a Nithral in this list, Lemon. So, Nithral gamers we are today.
Also worth noting, there's no Morvid in this list compared to a lot of the other White Frost lists. I believe they're playing Morvid right now. That is being cut in favor of having both the Riptide, plus maybe slightly expanded by provision package. And then quickly, we have Beasts Renfrey with the Kelpie Rage of the Sea combo. For I Have No Enemies Skellige, we just saw the Bart Pirates Cove in the game 1. The NR, I believe you said, was banned, but that's a stockpile main infantry list. And the White Frost here is actually a variant with the Morvid and a single engine Foglet. Probably return to the game, which is starting now. What do we have here for game 2?
Your timing is perfect as always. From Blue Coin, Andi opts to take that Frost list that we just mentioned that runs Nithral as opposed to runs Nithral and has a little more mid-range as opposed to running Morvid. And then I Have No Enemies. We're gonna get to see this Renfrey Rain Beasts list. There's a brick in hand for I Have No Enemies with the Knickers. But otherwise, the hand looks fairly playable.
Did you see if the Knickers was kept on purpose here or not? Because sometimes, like, the Knickers and the Roach can be kept in these kinds of lists. They don't want to tempo too much in the round 1. Although with the sort of points Frost can put out, I wouldn't expect you to keep it in this kind of...
Especially from Red Coin, I didn't catch if mulligans were taken other than the Knickers. But what you said is exactly spot on. Sometimes, especially in this kind of matchup where if you're I Have No Enemies that you're not going to be able to win the round, you can play 3 and get out, build up the graveyard for the Corrupted Flaminica, get some of those beast cards out of the way, and then you just kind of hold on to, because either to take a long round 3 or to defend the bleed. It is nice having both the Kelpie and the Fukusha in hand round 1 for I Have No Enemies, because obviously the Kelpie can be a Fukusha target, particularly if you, in this instance, you don't have Axel, you don't have Corrupted Flaminica, or the payoff value for Flaminica either. But maybe not. I Have No Enemies opting to spend a leader charge here to open, and to spend the Saraquan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's nice is instead of having both Fukusha and Kelpie in hand, is having both Aristocrats just sticking here. That would be plus 2 turns of Frost anytime it's applied to a row. But only one sticking now, protected up with this Crystal Skull. Very early commitment of the Saraquan. Winter Queen does come out, and it's not really easy to deal with the Winter Queen now though, and nice thing is Geralt definitely can't deal with the Winter Queen. Even if she would go above 9, that only happens sort of after both players have passed. Geralt doesn't.
Really interesting choice here from I Have No Enemies, because a leader charge in the Saraquan, which also gets out the Roach, yes, it thins the Roach, but like you said, maybe you want to do that, maybe you don't. That all feels like a bit of a commitment.
I think Skellige, you have to win this round though, right? So it's a commitment, yeah, but you have to take it, because if you give Frost a long round, especially since this is the list which, actually runs the Ancient Foglets, isn't going more for the Morbid, which might favour the shorter round. This is a lot scarier in a long round when you don't have nearly as many good engines. I Have No Enemies.
That's fair. All of that is fair. I'm just trying to think of if you're I Have No Enemies, how do you win this round?
Yeah.
Like going into it, right? Like how do you win the round here? I guess like the Geralt on one of these Foglets is nice, but the second ones are already at 12.
Yeah.
The Winter Queen always lives with the lack of control, directed damage control in hand from I Have No Enemies. The score is tied now, but there's also still 12 points unresolved with the Winter Queen. Navigator comes down for a bunch of points to keep the Winter Queen alive.
And this is even more rain coming down. I guess just to maximize value on the Kelpie. These anglerfish are sticking around, so there's enough turns on the back row rain here.
Spot on. Maybe this is just the motive then from I Have No Enemies is the only way that you can win this matchup is to be able to, like you said, either in best case scenario win the round, or in next case if you can shorten all of the other rounds enough that you get value from your Fukusha Corrupted Flaminica combo, your Axel, like maybe Andi doesn't draw well enough, like so maybe that's the motive is jam the cards, shorten the rounds. And if you get a little bit of luck here, then you're in a better spot.
Yeah, and of note, now the tournament are being played, that really does warp kind of the rest of the game, how the round control is going to go. Because now Andi is kind of forced to play into this round 2 to get value with Tournalia. Otherwise, he's just gonna lose it out and not get the extra frost value, extra red riders play. Don't mind being bled here if you're the Skellige list. If you're able to go last, you don't mind committing a Corrupted Flaminica to either just catch up after the opponent, because then they can't punish it. Particularly if they go like all in, and you have the 2 cards left in hand. If you play one of them being the Corrupted Flaminica to win the round, you get last say, get the Fukusha through that round 3, but it is actually the class. And he's saying, I don't need my Tournalia, I'd rather just take the additional value I get from having a long round, getting the extra navigator, extra frost value. And
we do see a full gold hand from I Have No Enemies. The maxi carryover is really nice, but this is as good of a sign I think for I Have No Enemies as you could ask for, that you've got exactly the hand that you're looking for. Also, there is a Taskmaster in deck for Andi.
Yeah.
And Oberon Conqueror could also play one. The Gels can of course play any Wild Hunt cards. So I'm saying all of that because of the Aguara, which, like you said, could get would otherwise get value here, except that there are ways to unlock in Andi's deck. Well, we see the opening, the Corrupted Flaminica to open, which of course denies dominance, which is a nice little piece from I Have No Enemies.
And this is also good because either this gets Toll Punish now, in which case the fish is online, it protects from the Riptide. And also, if Frost is hitting that front row, now it's just making the Corrupted Flaminica smaller, it's making the Toll Punish of the Immerse Wrath even worse.
Bro. That's absolutely spot on. Also, so no Caranthir Golden Child in hand.
Yeah.
For Andi, which then means, correct, that the Gales has access to it with the Gales, but that means then you don't have the flexibility of, it's either you take Eridan or you take Golden Child, but you don't get both. And that's a decision, the Caranthir is something you would want to, or the Eridan rather, is something you'd otherwise want to play early. If you can end up getting, particularly if you can end up getting dominance, the Golden Child is one you want to take late, so it kind of makes it then a little bit tricky if you are Andi about when you make that decision. And we see the lock on the Aristocrat to deny the long-term round value, any long-term round value of spawning the Frost. The additional turn of Frost, rather. And now we see the Renfrey.
It's just your stratagems, play bronze, draw a card, or destroy an enemy with 8 or less power. It's really solid across the board here. These are some of the best in general, I would say. Takes the play bronze, draw a card, I believe. Kindness is an option. And let's take kindness. We should all take kindness.
Admittedly, I'm kind of surprised by not taking the destroy 8. And the sloth, and rather taking the sloth, only because the options in deck are so mediocre. There's 2 squirrels and a savage bear. And a
Yeah.
wolf pack is all that's left for I Have No Enemies. So a Destroy 8 would have killed either Oberon or Nithral here. But it looks like we just get max tempo. I assume this is a wolf pack because of the front row value.
I agree. I'm not sure with how the rest of that deck look. Not sure how that's really better than the stratagems will be for 8 or less. We're actually getting to stick quite decently. This could
We
be
are
the
getting to the.
time. You go.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say this could be the time to play the Riptide. Or now Fukushi said it doesn't matter. You wouldn't have wanted to kill off the corrupted Flaminica and give a chance. No, yeah, that's why the damage comes through now. The Wrath since Fukushi was.
Correct, and also then the Riptide, if the Messenger of the Sea because of the front row frost, I don't think. I was gonna say I don't think it's ever gonna get tall enough for the Riptide to turn off that engine, but the Riptide will still get good value here. And
yes, this Riptide should be getting damage below 9s. This is going to be a Bricked Geralt. Nagafar's 1 point short. I wonder if that was purposefully timed by Andi, or whether Rain hit it. I'm not sure, but that is a huge difference here.
It's a dead Geralt, and there's a 21-point Golden Child, of 22 plus the 3 points on the Gales.
Yeah, that's
plus the Oberon that never died for an extra 2 more. Yeah. I think I Have No Enemies had a line here. We obviously, seeing all the cards, can strategize this a little bit better and backseat it, but I do think I Have No Enemies had a line there to win that game, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think I'm not convinced by that Renfrey at all. I think maybe just was expecting if Nithra wasn't out at that point, it wasn't necessary to go for it. But it definitely comes back to bite. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think maybe turning off the Oberon. Turning off the Oberon would be was certainly worth more points than the wolf pack was. Killing the Nithral would have been worth more points. So yeah. But either way, all in all, I don't know if that ends up being worth 14 points or not. Which was the difference between the two. So good games all around there. Andi takes the win in game 2.
Yeah, and the fact that against White Frost, we saw huge Foglets, we saw huge Karanthe, yet Geralt was bricked.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that you wonder. I was really curious because of the hard push. So this is, I guess, the trade-off, right? Is the hard push in round 1, if you jam the Geralt, then Andi knows that he can play the Karanthe at any time to regain dominance in round 3 with no issue.
But if you lose the last say...
If you don't have last say, then you never get to touch it anyway, right?
And look, maybe I have no enemies thought that if Tonaliar is gone, the carryover is gone, they can win a long round, since then suddenly the Navigators are a whole lot less scary, but even without Navigators, the Frost, no Eridan Break Glass either. The Frost was enough for just the Karanthe finisher. Yeah.
Yeah, it's again, we had said this from the beginning that it was going to be tough on I Have No Enemies, but I do think that most of that game I Have No Enemies played some good lines and had kind of the right macro of how to approach what is a really challenging matchup there for Skellige. Hey, look at that! Lemon is currently live, and I can see myself. I see myself seeing myself. Incredible.
I have no clue on my OBS. Just decided to stop working. I was like trying to get your cam to hit the right thing, and it did not.
Love when OBS does exactly what we beg for it to do, which is very standard, straightforward things. Oh, this is going to be fun. So both players, obviously, we know that Andi being up 2-0, obviously has to take Skellige. Or, I'm sorry, Syndicate. I Have No Enemies take Syndicate, so we will get a crime-on-crime matchup here with 2 different leaders and 2 slightly different decks. The Akarantia focused deck from Andi and the Siggy Mastermind focus deck from I Have No Enemies. This should be fun.
This will be very interesting. Like, ground control matters a lot, because you can think of each player as having a big combo. I Have No Enemies, it's sort of the Siggy with the collusion, building up all the gangs in one big round. Being quite important. Yeah, that's on the side of I Have No Enemies. For Andi, however, it's if you're able to get the Akronchi with all the open sesames together all at once, that is a lot of points as well. Whoever has the round control is able to maintain control over when they commit their combo, make sure it's all committed together, maybe make it awkward for when the opponent has to commit them. Little birds.
Lemon, if you can carry the heavy load for about 30 seconds, I'm just gonna go grab a form of hydration.
Okay. Important to stay hydrated, chat. That's Little Bird's picking up the blind eye tag. Currently 3 gangs side of I Have No Enemies. With a slower start from Andi, just playing the open sesame, fitting a bit with these sewer raiders. Ooh, look at this purify value. I think maybe Andi is sort of thinking that they don't go super tall. They don't want to keep a purify in case the purify poisons aren't even kept. If I Have No Enemies in a future round, if you see value for it, just take it. Point gap is quite large, and despite Andi having the coin advantage, it'll be interesting to see whether a big spend comes through. It is Oxenfurguard with a little bit of spending. Problem is, with that odd number of coins, not able to get the fully empty coin purse and the extra points from that spending. And Oxenfurguard now is guarding the other side. Hello, Salty.
I love coming back to hear you talking about people getting bribed. Excellent. That's a very American thing for you to call out.
Not quite sure how to respond to that.
It's okay. I'll do the dragging of America. You can be the tourism sponsor for Australia, and we'll.
I mean, I could definitely drag certain bits about Australia as well. So,
it's all this syndicate criminality that we're seeing, Chad. It's making all of us think about the real world too much. Speaking of which, Lemon, I'm looking at the board state right now. Do you feel where do you feel this round is going to go?
I mean, I Have No Enemies is definitely in the driving seat, having all the options when it comes to spending. Andi has mainly set up the carryover with 2 open sesames, one at 6, one at 5 charges now, so they're nicely staggered. And that was what the Eventide Plunder finding the Oxenfurguard now, so has another option for spending. But I would probably need to commit this Brawler to actually get efficient use out of that as well. What's the Furker? Will it be another put string? Or a bit of a lower commit? Oh no, that makes sense.
Oh, and we see snagging the boat here.
Yeah.
I think if you're I Have No Enemies, if you took I think you would absolutely guarantee the round if you took the Oxenfurguard. But that taking the Flying Redanian is really sneaky, and also more than enough. I Have No Enemies takes the round and the carryover. A good hand though for Andi going into round 2 and what we assume might be a long round 3.
Yeah, I think it was more than enough points. You're able to take the boat, and besides, it's just such a tempting carryover. Like you can think of it as like an 8-point swing off carryover, right? Opponent loses 4 points carryover, and you gain 4.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And we bricked King of Beggars is no bueno for Andi. With I Have No Enemies, I wonder if the question is that Azar Javed? Like, are you at all concerned about that? With the candle being able to get the defender tokens out of range of Horson. You don't have any coins here. So the push, but we do see I Have Enemies opt for the push.
This is the worst case scenario, and it's not even like you could try to hide the fact that you have this break to King Beggars. Because your Azar
Yep.
and your Salamander Mage, you're both basically always. You start a bit
Correct, and
slower
so
with Nerfograd and Candle coins, but then you're struggling for spending as well early on. Don't expect
as you're suggesting, if I Have No Enemies is paying attention at all, and we're sure that they are, they will immediately notice on the first tribute card that the King of Beggars is in hand, and that's just going to continue to encourage the push.
Was a bank probably searching for Nerfograd. It says just a little bird's finding the blind ice tag. It's not really worth spending as currently a 1 for 2 spender. I don't expect us to see Bart receiving that. What do you do now for Andi? Do you try to develop spending in the Bare Knuckle Brawler? You click Nerfograd hoping to get a spender here as well?
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing, right? Is that the candle will profit you at some point. Half of the hand will profit you at some point. You maybe play the Bare Knuckle Brawler just to get it on the board, but of course for the first 4 clicks in the current board state, it plays for 0 points. So trading 4 coins for 0 points feels bad, man, even if it's to make your purse more functional. So maybe we see this without the click? No? Okay. We do see it with the clicks, which suggests that the candle is up next.
Just to get, takes the spender so that even if, say, a Horson Jr. is used here, still has options. Also does get ahead, but I don't expect that to last.
Yeah, surprising that if you're willing to click, I suppose it's hindsight bias, because if you're willing to click the Novigrad, my initial thought was if you're willing to click the Novigrad, maybe do it first, so that you find a spender that's more efficient than losing the first 4 points on the Bare Knuckle Brawler. But if you think that you might get some kind of damage that could either kill the little bird or the Bart, then But it's all the same either way. I think Andi gets the other cards down, gets spender down, but I Have No Enemies comes back, puts spawns a Tide Cloak on the board to spend Sea Jackal.
Now,
and we see here, yeah.
There's no reason not to consider, I think, for I Have No Enemies. The board is basically as set up as you could hope. Just take the Crown Splitter tag here into Collusion. Okay, commit the Jacques first here to have Fire Swans on board. Yeah, this just means
you're still up 37 points, right?
You're up 37 points before the big players come through. See, the slow Azar Jarved play, and like this is, I guess, the one downside to Azar Jarved is it is slow enough itself. Like
true, especially obviously when you're getting bled. But Andi does opt not to take the tribute here, probably because knowing that the one token is hard to deal with, and then second that this doesn't signal to I Have No Enemies the lack of, I think, right? Still doesn't signal that the King of Beggars is in hand.
I'd say that makes a lot of sense.
I couldn't give a shit.
Not that I think this is eventually going to matter.
No. And kind of played into the...
That's the end of the defender. Yeah.
So now maybe some kind of Acherontia shenanigans happening.
I think that Andi with the Acherontia here might still in some universe have a chance if the King of Beggars wasn't bricked, because the King of Beggars is at 8. But wow, it feels bad this way, right?
Oh yeah.
So you just have to, I think, do you just have to float the King of Beggar, or the Acherontia here?
You at least protect it just in case. Actually, there's no coins in the bank, so it's quite limited. I don't think there's any way to kill it. It's either you spend now or you spend later. I don't think it makes a huge change. Okay, with no talk to worry about. Okay.
The Jacques a great find. That certainly helps.
It's a lot less good with no King of Beggars, however. Like, you basically missed 4 points there.
I'm just out here trying to find a way to feel better on Andy's behalf about having to play a 1-point card.
Yeah, no, certainly.
And that not getting these 8 coins back throughout the course of this round for Andy also is the death sentence because you play the Acherontia and
Yep.
you know, in the round that you play the Acherontia, not being able to maximize its value hurts here. But
Okay, it has enough coins for
we'll get to
tribute
tribute
here.
this.
Again, no King of Vegas refund. Even play back row seems a bit cheaper here. Good pulling the strings even. There's enough tags. What? I wonder if you could have pulling the strings the little bird to then spend on that, if that would have been worthwhile at all. Does catch up. As the King of Beggars
Does
and does
get
catch
there.
up.
And we'll have 1 coin of 2 coins, 1 coin of carryover. Rounds down, right?
Yeah, rounds down. That's an overgrad ticking.
Yep, so still has the Novigrad, still has the candle, gets to put back the King of Beggars. There's a tribute card.
It's a 1 tribute. So
this is just me hunting the good stuff.
Oh yeah, no.
This is my sad hunting the good stuff face.
And look, the thing is, they both actually still have King of Beggars at about 7 or 8 charges each, but I have no enemies that actually has tribute cards that cost a lot. So like, one Shady Vendor is going to do a lot more than a Cleric of the Flaming Rose here. And you can see there is actually bank for Andy. It can find a Salamander Mage.
There is also an open sesame still in graveyard for Andy. It's at 5, so that's kind of going to be tricky.
Yes, you need to be like spending every single turn to 0 and like using the Novigrad coin as your leader to be resetting your bank a little bit there. But there goes your good spender. Maybe you should have protected with.
Yeah. We'll get 2 coins back here from Horson, which is good. But like you said, with that now without the bare knuckle brawler, spending to 0 becomes impossible. Turn over turn, so
I don't think.
and there's no open sesames for I Have No Enemies, but the Andy's doesn't matter because, like we said, don't think Andy's going to be able to get there with the open sesame in graveyard.
Man's got the ways if you've got the
Only a 1 sees on the strings. Might just have to take. I heard you will over profit a bit with the open sesame. I guess, I mean, in the sense, the pulling strings also just. But...
So, how are things?
Actually, yeah, I should have just taken the open sesame there. Only ended up being the profit for the pulling the strings. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, there's still a full coin purse plus 4 points for with the Mutants Maker combination here. You take the Salamander Mage here or the Eventide Plunder, depending on what you're looking for. If you take the Eventide Plunder, maybe then you find a Bare Knuckle Brawler. Is that even good? With the Salamander Mage, at least you can kill. The King of Beggars with a Horson click, and then maybe it makes it a little more inefficient to spend. But
I think Andy
Oxenfurt Guard.
Andy should have spent with Candle, I think, beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't matter.
It's just this was so close, all things considered. And if the King of Beggars is not bricked in round 2 for Andy, then I think this maybe goes the other way. But I Have No Enemies figures it out, wins by 6, and gets on the board here in game 3 of their head-to-head matchup.
So reverse sweep may have done. Maybe. Don't know if it will be a reverse sweep. You have yet to.
I'm not
categorize
laughing.
if
I'm
it's
not
successful.
laughing. I'm not laughing because of anything to do with the players of the matchup. It's funny that we all always like that's the first thought that I had as well. I'm like, here we go, reverse sweep time. It's just always
the
our
thing to
first
bring
thought
up
when
with the
someone's down
class.
2-0.
The managers to win in the Syndicate mirror that will have to pick up wins now with the Rained list and the White Frost. So two different weather
And White
decks.
Frost.
Probably White Frost is going to be the blue coin deck, and Rain would be the red coin deck you would be expecting. Yeah, because Frost likes to set up aristocrats using the blue coin, making use of the stratagem. Rain, on the other hand, likes to tempo abuse with all Renfrey's gang, Roach, Knickers, or stuff. That's what I'd be expecting. But I would not be surprised at all if I.
Well, the upside is that unlike most of these decisions, you have a 50-50 here, and I think I side with where you landed. I would imagine that that's the way you'd organize this if you had to make a choice.
How does Renfrey Beasts Syndicate can sometimes run into problems where they don't have enough tempo to win round one? Like this was even against certain like Madamaki lists.
Yeah, we'll see if the players can re-enter here.
Check if.
Let's see.
Okay, Andy's type.
Andy is typing now. That's not a good sign. It says it. Oh, it says it canceled the invite.
Maybe did they get additional? Okay, there's the invite.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
It's so annoying. Like I have to use my phone to check anything on like Discord on the organization side of things because
Right, because you've got 6 things going on. But luckily, it looks like the players are in the game, so...
Since I have you popped out, I think I actually would be able to check.
Oh, give it... I mean, be as sneaky as you want to be, my friend.
Not one escapes. Got it?
All right, so we do have I have no enemies from red coin take Skellige. So like you said, we could see Andy. The hand looks pretty decent for I have no enemies, no bricks. So like you said, we could see a pretty heavy tempo push here by I have no enemies attempting to make life hard for Andy to get out of round 1. And we see, I believe, an Insta Squirrel is what this will be on the... Yep, Insta Squirrel on the Open Sesame. So that means no Squirrel on the Flying Redanian, but obviously the 4 points of carryover on Redanian is not nearly as scary as the ability to generate more coins. Ha!
Yeah.
I've created a new word, points and coins. Coins.
They're basically the same thing in Syndicate, right?
Yeah,
Ooh.
who's past midnight here? Is it you or me?
I think you can tell.
I think you're. I know, right? Was your ooh a little bit of surprise at the Novigrad here early in round 1?
Yes. So this means that Andy is sort of expecting I have no enemies to be contesting very hard here, which yes, this Renfrey Beast deck really needs to win the round 1 and predicting this sort of matchup, I'd say. They don't want to just let the Akaranshi go uncontested. They can't get through the Azar Jarvet as well, really. So this is why Andy plays Novigrad early, is they're able to actually, get the coinage profit sort of just taking over. It's one of the strong kind of engines, I guess, you have. Here's the Kelpie. but here's the horse junior, I would expect.
You would imagine that if you're Andy and you're this committed to wanting to win the round, that you horse in here,
Yes.
kill the Kelpie. The only caveat to that is that Horson is one of the key removal pieces in this list.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised to not see Andy snap kill it with Horson and instead kind of think through, is it like, is it a Salamandra mage and you wait a turn? Maybe you click the Novigrad to see if you find 2 damage.
Does go for
Does
exactly
click the
that
Novigrad
play.
and does not find damage.
If only Casino
Also
bounces
now-
are in deck.
Yeah. And also Andy now playing into 2 rows is really nice for I Have No Enemies. You love to see that. Outcome. Oh boy, that's a big point swing here with some engines on board for I Have No Enemies. 5 total turns of rain, a messenger on the sea on the board. Now Horson does clean up both of these engines right now. Yeah, that's a nice play from Andy.
Goodbye Kelpie, goodbye Messenger of the Sea, take that message to your grave. Axel coming down for the additional point slam. A little lead. And Andy still has not clicked this Tiger's Eye stratagem. And the nice thing is that this Eternal Fire Disciple is, the most efficient one spender, maybe bar a Little Bird. It's a 2-for-1 spender on the cooldown. And it can help you just ensure that you're able to get to either even or odd coins, from odd to even, as required for the Oxenfolk Guard to max.
That hurts. Good. I was starting to
The if you want to call it a voice line, the voice line from Bare Knuckle Brawler is pretty funny. That it's just the sound of people just fist punching each other. Love that. But we see I Have No Enemies here up 20 points and has effectively done all the thinning except for the Renfrey's gang, which is really nice.
And here's the problem in that if you decide, like Andy has done here, to hard contest this round 1, but still end up losing on even, like that is just worst case scenario. Because then you're going
That
into a
is
short
much
round,
worse.
you likely lose your card, give card advantage, you're not getting plus say. It's just terrible. The alternative is to just play the Novigrad early and then pass it 7 cards, basically saying, I don't care if you bleed me as long as I maintain my Akaronchi and King of Beggars for like the round 3, even if it's short, I'll be able to, even without last say.
Yes, you.
We do see Andy play here, and presumably this will be Azar Javed. Although I guess it could be Candle if you expect to have to play both cards if you're Andy anyway. But I'm just trying to figure out does Andy even have enough points here? The Open Sesame is at 5. I guess you could leader some here, but we do see the defender comes down with a tribute. So Andy keeping it close, and like you said, still hasn't even clicked Tiger's Eye yet.
Surprised that as I went back row. Playing it front row means you're able to have rain potentially hidden to Scarabs. I don't think there's much value to protect in the back row. You could have gotten another turn for your Eternal Fire Disciple. Not ahead right
also,
now.
we know that the Vanilla Geralt is in deck for I Have No Enemies, but if you keep spending on the Oxenfurt Guard, then the Horson will eventually get above 9 as well. But Andy's still offering now, even with clicking the stratagem, is still offering the pass to go to I Have No Enemies to go down another card. But with the Open Sesame in graveyard and the Akarantia, I Have No Enemies says that's good enough for me, and Andy will have to play the Candle here as well. With the Novigrad, yeah. With the Novigrad on board, Lemon, and the Candle now, I mean, you have to imagine that Andy, with an Open Sesame in graveyard, you have to imagine that if you draw even decently, you push here, right?
No.
But then how do you find success in a 3-card, in a 3-card round 3 in a 4 3-card round?
May.
No, now we're taking. Well, Andy draws every piece of garbage left in the deck. The only gold that Andy draws is King of Beggars, so obviously we are going to see a more medium length round 3.
Yeah, I think any discussion we would have tried to have about bleeding or not has just been rendered absolutely moot. King of Beggars coming back into Andy's hand. Round 2. 2 for 2. Andy's going to be quite annoyed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no enemies. Happy to find the Maxi to generate that deck peak carryover. Is gonna draw 3 cards.
But not for
can take
the
one.
most important.
Yep, can take 1 mulligan, but not the second because of the Renfrey's gang bricks. So you'd imagine that there's a couple of options here. You can put the Renfrey's gang to the bottom to guarantee you don't see it, and you can have 5 clean cards. You can put something like the Wolf Pack maybe your worst card, or the Savage Bear to the bottom, because the Squirrel actually still gets value either on the Flying Redanian for 8 or on the Open Sesame to deny Acherontia carryover. So we'll see what the draws look like for a medium length round 3. There's the Acherontia for Andy, so at least the world is not ending around us. Draws the Lackey for the 3rd time. So no bank means no Jacques here for Andy.
Unless Acherontia finds either bank or bank or...
True. Or you could always, I guess you could shady vendor for a pickpocket, as terrible as that feels.
Yeah. Not convinced.
We do see the Squirrel outright on the Open Sesame. So now both Open Sesames have been squirreled because of the double Squirrel deck build here from I Have No Enemies. That feels really nice.
Proactively, I guess you just go for this, Fire Sworn. It's technically a tribute. Also, just have bodies on board. You have that little bit extra coinage that now you shady vendor is a viable option.
Sharpen the bolts, boys.
Also, I Have No Enemies being able to keep a leader charge here is nice as well, because the spawn is an additional value add for the Serquan, which is nice.
Yeah, we saw that in the previous game in round 1. Could very well see something similar here. I don't think you care about killing the Cleric at the Flaming Mirrors. But yeah, Oxenfurt Guard may be a little tempting. Currently lacking in.
But also Lock, I guess, here as well.
Yep,
and we do see the Aguara. That also puts another unit on the board, which then makes the reach of the Serquan 6 removal with the leader charge, which is nice.
No, there is the Lackey Purifying deck for Andy, but yeah, was not found. Open Sesame could be an option, but might be a bit
Open Sesame.
Still goes for it.
Yeah, I with 4 leader charges, you should be able to, if you can find some kind of efficient spender between the Eventide Plunder and the second Shady Lady. I assume that the Open Sesame has a higher, or I don't want to say assume, the Open Sesame has a higher chance of being able to get resolved, but it kind of also depends on what's pulled here from Renfrey. We do see the damage 6. The Fukusha, it's gonna have to be Sloth, right? Because the Fukusha and the Geralt are in deck.
Yeah, I'd expect so.
And you're correct. So it takes Sloth and then takes the boost 2, which should play for somewhere around like 6 to 7 points.
Yeah, I'm correct in that I agreed with you. It seems.
No, well, you had the thought before I did, but I couldn't stop talking long enough for you to say it. So I just stole it out of your brain machine.
Ooh. choices.
But I was just getting started.
Assuming here the bare knuckle brawler because of the open sesame, but yeah, I was gonna say you've probably got to spend fairly vigorously because you have to expect this bare knuckle brawler to get removed.
Yeah, there was.
You know that there's a Serquanin list.
There's maybe an option to float the failed experiment, but that's and hope for a poison from something else. But that's not really such a great choice here. Yeah, you can't play the Acherontia before the Serquanin comes down.
Also, the Eventide Plunderin deck for Andi is the only other way. Plus, like you said, a high roll off of the Shady Vendor to deal with the corrupted Flaminica anyway, as a tall punish. So I think what you had said 5 minutes ago is probably correct. What you're fishing with the Acherontia would be in particular the Jacques, yeah. But the upside is that, I mean, at this point, the question becomes, knowing that the Serquan now is out, the Fukusha, if I Have No Enemies had the Fukusha in hand, the Fukusha doesn't lead to damage either. I wonder if you float the Acherontia here, so that last turn you can tribute the Shady Vendor, which pulls out the King of Beggars, thins it out before you start thinning Acherontia cards, and gives you a more efficient spender for the King of Beggars.
I think that's the best choice. You'd over profit one, but you get the most value towards your Acherontia. Oh, it's just.
That's what I was thinking, right? Is like the win condition here, because the corrupted Flaminica is going to be pretty big. Does find a bank,
Technically.
but
The bank is gone.
yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder. I mean, there's no way I could have certainly done the math there, but this Flaminica is gonna be huge. Yikes, that's a big Flaminica. And now you get to play the Fukusha on top of an 8-point bronze.
Oh, okay, just kept the Geralt. I thought that was all in one turn there. Does have the last say, able to keep Geralt there. King of Beggars being the only spender here means that, King of Beggars is just gonna get vanilla Geralted. So even if Andy's able to catch up, it's not gonna be good at all. Yeah, despite having quite limited control, I Have No Enemies did a very good job here of getting rid of the important spenders in this round 3. It just made Andy's life very different.
I do think that that Andi would have been able to get. I don't know if it would have mattered, but would have been able to get the last open sesame out if he had spent and then leadered instead of leadering all the way out. But obviously, a 32-point delta, I don't think that solves that problem. So the lack of a Jacques really in the round 3 really hurt Andi here, and Lemon may have predicted it, but we are going to a sudden death winner take all for this game 5. Perhaps a reverse sweep.
It's Frost, perhaps. So.
Yeah, let's see. What do we got here? So
there's limited control for Frost, but really they just need to deal with the Acherontia, generally speaking. They'd like to kill off the Salamander Mages as well. Keep in mind, this is a bit different to the one we saw from Andi. One for I Have No Enemies, there's no Nithril, they're running the Morvid, and I don't know if there's a Lord Riptide, let me just confirm.
There is. There's a Riptide and an Emerlist Wrath for as the directed damage here in the Frost deck. But no, you don't have the mid-range of the Toad Prince here, and then like you said, running the Morvid means that you're a little bit more all in to go tall with points. So round control here will matter, I think, a great deal to both players to try and either bleed out, either to get the value that they want or to be able to bleed out the threats, because dealing with the Acherontia and especially with the Azar Javed, that's a big pain in the ass to deal with. There isn't a Taskmaster for at least one Purify if you have Dominance. or I'm sorry, you can purify any enemy unit no matter what. So there is at least a taskmaster in the frost list, but still going to be a bit challenging to deal with some of these threats if the frost deck doesn't get control rounds.
It's worth noting as well that there's only one Ancient Fog, that one Wild Hunt Bruiser, one Naglfar crew. So not having as much space to run these sort of higher end bronzes ends up packing out the Darthor a lot more. But now heading into game 5.
That's a great call out actually, because the bruiser, double bruiser could be really helpful here. The frost does run double. I Have No Enemies does run double Red Riders, and obviously between that and the Tyrnalia, you can replay the Bruiser, so there's that. But
yeah, and you also have movement from your leader and also the order if you have dominance.
Spot on. So a good looking hand here for I Have No Enemies. Let's see what this last mulligan is for Andi, and of course Brick's the King of Beggars for the second time in 3 games.
Did you say second time in 3 games? Didn't you mean third?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I'm sorry. I undersold the bad luck for Andi. Yikes.
Andi, more like, and I don't draw King of Beggars.
And I never want to see King of Beggars in my hand again.
You see, Aristocrat sticking, in theory the horse and Junior could have been used to answer it, but it's not the play that is taken. It just plays out sort of guard now. Awesome to that back row looks quite nice, because you'd expect the awesome guard to be to other units on the same row to be boosting or defending on something. Also be not sure what that bank was looking for. Maybe Novigrad some.
Same.
But gets the candle. 7 turns of frost back row. So much frost just stacking it. Just feels like you're trying to save value into like a round 2 Tyrnalia.
Sure. I really like that play from I Have No Enemies. That's something that I think that we don't see often enough with frost decks, is remembering that the Tyrnalia just gets so much more value if you can row stack the frost. And also it keeps the Winter Queen in deck, and if you're in the position now like I Have No Enemies, you want to wait on it anyway, because you don't want it to get clapped by the horse and Junior. You A bajillion is 37 more than 100.
Okay. Okay.
It's the American education system, Lemon. Don't be mad at me.
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Well, I've been hearing that since my high school prom. So, the exactly what you laid out here though is the situation for Andi, which is if I Have No Enemies wins the round, the Tyrnalia carryover is absolutely tremendous.
That's why you're going to see this Foglet being held onto as much as possible. Yes, it would play for a lot of points here, but if you can sort of have all these points in the next round, or have it like that.
And we do see and we did see the 50-50 with the aristocrat move, playing the click order on the aristocrat, moving the bare knuckle brawler forward, wins the 50-50 in the front row, kills the bare knuckle brawler, which really seals the deal for the round. And now we'll see if there's a navigator, but no Tyrnalia.
I mean, this
Playing
whole
the
thing
Gels
will
in round
crumble
one.
if this last Mulligan does not find Tyrnalia. Suddenly there's this whole game plan for this White Frost is sad. All these turns of Frost built up, it doesn't matter. Doesn't find it. Andy's in it with a chance.
Andy's still alive,
All this-
ladies, gentlemen, and theys.
All these times breaking King of Beggars was just Andy building up the karma so that I Have No Enemies was not able to draw the Tyrnalia in this round.
That's what it is. The more that you don't end up getting access to King of Beggars tributes in your deck, it builds up that karma. That is correct.
And now, with the Tyrnalia not being played this turn for I Have No Enemies, Andy might start to expect maybe something's a bit up. Why was Tyrnalia not played? This is like the prime opportunity to play it. You don't have anything to answer, nothing to interact with. You have units on the side of the board. Pass! Andy's gonna be like, what? How did this happen?
Yeah.
I actually can just, get out. And with the Flying Redanian, you should just play Open Sesame, get the carryover, get your boat out, be happy. Instead we actually see Shady Bender being played. That seems strange.
Maybe for another, possibly there was looking for another, not pulling the strings, another, Open Sesame.
Oh, sorry, there was riders on board. It wouldn't have been enough. That's why. You would have needed, more than. You needed a 9 point. Okay. That's why. You couldn't just play Open Sesame.
Still Azar Javed, still Akarantia, and does find both, does Andy. So definitely looking better. Finally, the Tyrnalia finally ends up in hand.
It's a bit, now it's a lot sadder. It's still double
no,
navigator with the odd gate.
Good God. For I have no enemies, no Oberon, no Morvid.
And no Naglfar. Find them. This is why if you're going to play a ghost ship, you play the one which comes out automatically.
Wow.
I guess Naglfar's technically not a ship. But even Titan. Ooh, this could be an interesting. But yeah, actually, I'm see spending on the treasure.
Huntress.
Actually, not in this current.
Yeah.
You don't want to give too good of a toll punch. See Jackal to Damon. Very, very tall on Paradin, but that's fine because punishes don't really exist in this deck. I don't think there's even business.
Yeah, this has suddenly become an incredibly tough haul now for I Have No Enemies, missing essentially your two remaining top end golds.
So now your only real interaction is this Immortal Wrath. Otherwise, you just try to put up value with these navigators, Ancient Foglet through the Frost of the Ardgaith, the leader.
We should see that. And we should see the Azar Javed back row here, and then that protects both the big spender. Yep, we see that. Protects the tall spender, will protect the Akarantia when the time comes, and I Have No Enemies is not going to have a way to deal with any of that now.
You'd expect at least one Scarab to get moved. But then Andi just plays something else into that front row. Last Scarab can't really be.
I think we see here, assumedly we see the Frost 4 turns back row.
Yeah. So Ardgaith would take you up to 4 and 6 turns of Frost. And yeah, and then you just have these navigators playing for as much value as possible. You definitely have the dominance here for the Frost. Oh no, you don't. If this Siege Apple goes bigger, it's very risky when there's so much Frost potential movement.
And just like you called out, now the scarab being moved doesn't change anything now. You play the Ardgaith early up front so that then you get maximum navigator value here, but it's, I mean, all of this went sideways. This entire match went sideways for I Have No Enemies when not finding the Ternalia in round 2. That was the turn. That was where the match turned.
Just curious, what was the girls used for in round 1? Girls was used
I think it was used for
Ardgaith.
the crew. Oh, it was the Ardgaith.
Wonder then maybe you're thinking, did you need the Ardgaith to win the round 1? Maybe.
I mean, that's the. I mean, but the question is, like, if the point is to go all in on the strat of generating as much round 1 Frost as you can to carry over for the Ternalia in round 2, doesn't that necessitate that with only having the one tutor in hand and not even having drawn the Naglfar's crew yet, which also wouldn't have been guaranteed if there were 3 golds in deck. My point is, like, that feels like a bit of a miss. The King of Beggars going back row also helps because now you can stop spending on the Jacques when you need to efficiently spend for the Akarantia.
These navigators are playing for about sort of 10 points a pop. Not terrible, but I don't know if it'll cut it. I mean, you can't underrate this Akarantia gold card. It will be playing for a huge number of points. Down comes the Akarantia. There's only 2 open sesames, both for charges in deck right now. But this leader will play for a lot of points for Andi right now.
Yep.
Now at 1 charge, so this spending run into issues if something which over profit too much. The Oxenfurt Guard looks pretty sweet here. Yep. This is a very nice potential spend. Won't get another proc on the Akarantia this turn.
Yeah, there is still one more turn of... So you still do have the one more movement tech here. So you could... The question becomes, do you move the Scarab to kill the Akarantia for the less points, or do you take the more points... do you just take whatever with the Wrath is the most points last say?
What do you expect the Akarantia to play here? I don't think the Akarantia is worth more to kill than either like the Jacques or the King of Beggars.
Agreed. I mean, the most points is actually... If the Scarab lives, the most points might be the Lackey, because it'd play for 4 points plus the 8 coins, which becomes more valuable.
You're not
and allows you to
using
finish
your
proccing the Akarantia.
Wait, the Lackey?
I was thinking that off the thing that would be the most points if the Akarantia procs again might be the Lackey, because it's you get 2 points per status on purifying the Scarab.
Okay, right.
Yeah, Bare Knuckle is 4. Oxenfurt Guard is 4. Cleric if you tribute it. So yeah, I think it would have been the Lackey in the end. Oh my goodness! Oh, wow!
Oh my gosh, that was super
Holy
close
shit.
in the end.
Wow. So
That's-
I have no enemies, misses Morwood, doesn't get off the strat that we talked about, ad nauseum in round 2 at the Turnalia, doesn't find the Oberon,
And you know what the
and
kicker is?
still, go ahead.
They saved that second leader charge. They saved it till the very end to try to maximize the value on the Wrath. Whereas,
You're right.
I mean, look, maybe if they had used it earlier, they ran out of movement, then Andy could have played around the Wrath a whole lot more. But 4 points were lost because you had that frost coming down after the Navigators.